Okay, I think we're ready. So welcome to those who just joined us, come into the room. Our last presentation of the morning session is Jessica Miller from the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire. And her talk is Creating and Sharing a Multimodal Intermediate French Sequence, Successes and Challenges. It's a nice title. I'm glad you're talking about the intermediate level since we've had a series of talks about the beginning level. So, okay, Jessica, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. And this is a 15-minute session, so a bit shorter than the two previous ones. And I'm hoping to get done in 10 minutes and then have plenty of time for questions. And if you attended the two previous sessions, you'll see there are a lot of things that you'll recognize. I think it's wonderful to see so many people working in similar directions. So the overview of my presentation, quickly, I'm going to talk about the redesign of the intermediate sequence at my university, with the desire to make it more equitable and more accessible, and also to make the curriculum better aligned with proficiency guidelines. I'm an ACTFL OPI rater and interviewer, so that I was able to use that training and infuse it into the courses that I redesigned. I've also redesigned them so that I can teach them face-to-face or online, synchronous, asynchronous. Right now, I offer this sequence as a hybrid sequence in which students, we meet face-to-face Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but on Tuesdays, students do an activity on their own. This was motivated by the fact that often students had a conflict. As the previous presenters mentioned, the 4 credits can be a barrier to students enrolling in French courses. And so our approach was to keep the 4 credits, but make one of those days an online day. I've also tried to incorporate principles of transparency in learning and teaching, as well as universal design for learning to make this course more accessible. This redesign was accelerated by a switch to Canvas. So a few years ago, I think it was right before the pandemic. So our institution switched from D12 to Canvas. So that was the right time to redesign this course as an OER. And it was published in Canvas and in Canvas Commons in 2021. But some challenges are that visibility to larger audience remains low. Access is not without obstacles. So for institutions that don't use Canvas, it's harder to download. So the workaround was to use continuing education Canvas course that people who don't normally have access to Canvas can actually access it, but it's sort of complicated. And so my questions are, how can we create and publish user-friendly OER courses, especially in small programs? So at UW Eau Claire right now, I'm the only faculty, and I work with a full-time instructor as well, but she's new and she's on board with OER, but she has a lot of different preps, a lot of credits to teach. So that makes it difficult for us to work together. So here's the sequence of it's French 201 and 202, our intermediate sequence. And I work towards the target proficiency of intermediate low for 201 and intermediate mid for 202. And I put everything on Canvas. So here's the overview of the course, how I break it down. So I try to touch on different locations, your vocabulary, and then grammar. And I develop those lessons as well in PowerPoint, and I share them with my students all in Canvas. For the outcomes, you will recognize the can-do statements that I've adapted, and I'm also rotating the different modes of communication. As we saw with the previous presenters, they're doing something similar. And French 202, the structure is exactly the same. So again, as was mentioned by the previous presenters, it really helps students that they get familiar with the structure, and then it repeats, and it saves a lot of time, and students become comfortable in that environment as well. So now I want to show you what it looks like on Canvas. So let me see. I think I need to switch to Safari. Okay. All right. So I hope you can all see my browser. This is my master course, French 201. And so every week we start something different. Students are given an overview, and each day is a different communication mode. And then every Friday is an assessment. And vocabulary, you'll recognize H5P that the previous presenters described really well. So I use H5P, I embed it into Canvas for practice exercises. I also embed, at our university, we use Kaltura for videos. So this is another video tool that I can embed. And they have the homework, and then in class, this is what we do. So I really try to use visuals and videos, and I can embed YouTube videos, and for increased accessibility when subtitles are not available through YouTube, I can also use Kaltura, the embedded video tool in Canvas, to add my own captions. So this is what this course looks like. And then on the last day, students are assessed. And this is where I use transparency and learning and teaching. So I don't want to go into details, but basically it's a template that that promotes equity and that really sets up every student for success. And what's nice with OER is that you can really tailor and infuse those principles that you are attached to in case textbooks don't. So this is how I structure my assessments. Okay, I'm going to switch back to the presentation. Okay. So the advantages of OER in Canvas is, like I said, the repeated structure, using all modes of communication equally, the material that can be replaced easily. Students have early access to the material and can keep it. So I show them how they can download from Canvas. They can just download the course and then use the material. And also the flexibility can be face-to-face, online, hybrid, etc. I can use personal or institutional approaches and align them. So ACTFL standards, transparency, universal design, and inclusive language, as we've seen others have done too. And the challenge is that sharing with colleagues through Canvas is difficult if they don't have Canvas. Visibility and usability are limited. Something that I would love to is to work with other people, because there are no reviewers or editors to improve content. So things that work for me might not work for some students or colleagues. And then the site is not as user-friendly as a print textbook. So I am able to print a lot of the grammar lessons, pronunciation lessons that I've developed for students, but they cannot have a workbook, and so they need to complete all the preparation activities online, and it might not work for everybody. So I'd like to be able to offer a print and an online version, but it's not, possible right now. There are a lot of constraints. Publishing OER, I'd love to use Pressbooks. I think it just looks great. But the institutional subscription has the best features. Unfortunately, at UW-Eau Claire, we are priced out, and it's been in discussion with the library, but it's a slow process, so I don't have access to Pressbook right now. So OER versus textbooks, as you know, they're time consuming to locate and to use. And language teachers with many different preps cannot use or create OER consistently. So, I've been able to, I still have a lot of preps, but not as many as my colleague. So we both love OER, but sometimes it's just easier to go with a textbook. At our institution, we have a rental system, so it's not that costly for students to use a textbook. And my questions are, how can OER creation and sharing be facilitated? Because through a survey that my institution did, they found that OER content is as good or better than textbooks, and that students are happy with it. But there are still many obstacles that remain. So I think in conclusion that OER are increasing in number and quality, as we see at this conference today. And I think it's good because textbook companies will need to innovate, and we just need, as OER users and creators, to continue our efforts, because there are a lot of good things coming out of our work. So thank you. I'd like to invite you to ask questions and think about the challenges that we're facing and start thinking of solutions together.
Okay, thank you so much, Jessica. I appreciate how you've ended up on talking frankly about the challenges to OER, and particularly the challenges facing someone at a smaller institution that may not have access to all the tools or the faculty, the different things that people are coming from research institutions that you don't have. So I thought that's actually a really important point to bring up, the so-called challenges. You say that one of the challenges, of course, for OER is that there are no reviewers, or you said you had problems having your content reviewed by others. There are repositories where they have like editorial teams that will look at your content and then perform some kind of review function to that. So Merlot is one. There's the textbook, the Open Textbook Library, University of Minnesota. Although you have to have a PDF and you have to have it uploaded. So
yeah, that's one thing because it's just easier for me to work from Canvas, because then it's right there for the students. So I'm not sure how to turn that into PDF material, especially with all the videos.
exactly. I think this is one of the issues, that people are now more and more creating content within the structure of their LMS. So they're not taking the next step to then create something that's a standalone, whether that's like a website or a PDF book or something like along those lines. So you're right, that is a problem. It used to be Canvas, many people were moving to Canvas because Canvas was so open, and they had something called Canvas Commons. Have you
Yeah.
heard of them? Yeah.
Yes, I've published my courses, through Canvas Commons. But if you don't have a Canvas account, then you don't
Right.
have access to that.
Right. So those are the things that come to mind, and it sounds like you're already aware of them, Canvas Commons, and then some kind of a publication. But as you said, Pressbook, not everybody has access to as a platform. Yeah. Philomena is raising the question about so do you want to take that question, integrating with Canvas?
So I haven't tried that, so I don't know. I create my material in H5P and then I embed it, but I tell students to ignore the score and just use it for practice. So I don't use that grade into the student's actual grade. It's just for practice before coming to class.
Mhm.
And then I saw other questions. So if you have Canvas, you can just look up UWEC 201 or UWEC 202 to find my courses. And outside of Canvas, you can email me and I can create continuing education Canvas account that then you will be able to access my courses via Canvas.
Okay. So I want to thank our speaker. Thank you so much, Jessica. That was interesting, and especially the discussion around challenges, because there remain challenges to creating OER. There's a really good comment. Somebody said, "Is there a French-specific OER community?" Certainly at OLRC and at COERLL, we have people working on French materials. But there is no one specific place to go where all the people are creating OER in that particular language. So you're going to have to do a little bit of networking, I think, to find. But that's, of course, one of the reasons why we are having this conference here today, so that a lot of you can meet each other. And then just one of the things about OER developers is they're a friendly bunch, and the whole point is to share your knowledge with each other. So please go ahead and contact people after the talks.